See, I told you that beat was.
Look, it was fire. As soon as it came on, I was like, "Hold up, wait a minute."
I told y'all. All right, y'all, we here. Sorry, I just love that beat so much, man. I wish I can just use it and rap to it, but I can't because that song was it? I forgot what I used it, but can't use it. I don't have the rights to it. So, but y'all, sorry, y'all, I'm looking at these notes. We got Chris here, y'all. What's going on, man?
Nothing much.
Now, you the finale, so
I gotta bring it home.
You gotta bring it home, man. So let me make sure everybody look, it wouldn't do that again. There you go. All right. So you gotta make sure you bring it in. So welcome everybody to Tell It, those who have not seen or heard of Tell It before. This is where people come and share their stories. And for this series, we're talking about the Black male educators. So if you have not tuned in this series yet, I encourage you to kind of stick around, stay on, because you guys are in for a treat. This is season 2. This is episode 3 in season. Well, no, not episode 3. This is episode 6 in season 2. So this is the finale. So we're going on a little break, but I hope you guys are prepared. We will first want to thank my 4th grade teacher, Mr. Pryor, for coming on, starting us off. And then we have Dr. Brandon Caffey, who was just last week. And he had some great wisdom to share with us, some great history. So we appreciate that. And then now we have none other than the most elevated teacher in Texas. We got Mr. Chris Francois. And let me know am I saying your last name right?
Yeah, Francois. That's always about the battle every year with the kids. Okay. It's like Francois. And I had a girl just earlier this week, and she's like Francois. I get it, Francisco. Frank. It's all over the place. So she's saying Francois, and I'm like, it's Francois. She's like, man, whatever your name is. I'm like, if I could pronounce y'all names with all the adjectives and the
right
and the apostrophes and the loves and judds, y'all can pronounce Francois. So let's
Francois.
Francois.
Smooth. How you feeling, man? Today wasn't your last day. My bad, man. Today's my last.
And then you gonna just jab me in the heart like that. Everybody else is making all these posts. They're like, oh wow, the school year is ending. We have 3 more weeks.
Ooh,
I don't know, man.
Man. All right. Well, before we get started, sorry, I'm gonna just move on.
Let's move past that pain.
Before we get started, everybody, please share. Please heart it up. Take the time to share. Every educator that you know need to see this. So you need to go ahead and share right now. It's also streaming live on YouTube. So if you're on YouTube, go ahead and share, like, subscribe. Make sure you do that. But tonight, if you're on Facebook, go ahead and share and heart it up, because again, every educator. Now I know for some of us, we're out of school, but there's still things you need to know. Still things I feel like will be beneficial for you for this. So go ahead and do that. Don't be selfish. All right, you need to hear from this dude. Before we go forward, Chris, how old are you, man?
I'm 29. I just turned 29. Not just, but in January. Yeah, 29 years old.
29, early in the game, right?
Early
in the game, and he got so much to share with you guys. So, but before we get started, we like to do rapid fire questions. I forgot to do this with Dr. Caffey, but I think his information was so rich, and I have no doubt that this will be the same. But we like to have a little fun here, and we have some quick questions for Mr. Chris. And I hope did you share this with some parents? Did you were able to share this?
Not yet, but I will.
Okay.
I'm not scared of them.
I don't know if you know what I'm saying.
Ain't nobody scared of them.
Like Mr. Francois.
Oh, here he go with it.
Yeah. All right, here we go,
Right.
man. Here we go. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Are you introvert or extrovert?
Extrovert.
Oh, okay.
Big time.
So that means you're the life of the party, like wherever you
Always.
show up.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't bring food to occasions. I bring the party. That's typically what. So there's like, who's bringing the mac and cheese? They know not to look my way, but if they want to have fun, I'm
Yeah.
the guy.
All right. So don't call on you for the food.
Not
Gotcha.
at all. Unless
Good.
y'all
Good.
need to pick it up. Is Chick-fil-A making this? I can stop by Chick-fil-A for sure, but that's
They
not
got
my
some.
ministry.
They got some good. They got some good mac and cheese there too.
They got some good everything, man. The Lord has
Yeah.
touched that chicken. I don't know what's going on with that, but it's blessed.
Yeah. There you go, man. All right. Denzel. Now I usually go. Let's just see what you say about this. It's always going to be this guy, Denzel or Eddie Murphy. Oh, that's a tough one for you. Okay.
I'm gonna have to say Eddie Murphy, and this is my reason why though.
He said Eddie Murphy.
I can't imagine my life without Coming to America. When I tell you that I've seen that movie so many times, that's a movie, that and Forrest Gump are movies that if it's on, no matter what channel, no matter what part of the movie, I have to watch the rest of it. So while Denzel is my guy, Eddie Murphy, and then Shrek. If no okay. Eddie Murphy, you are down Shrek and Coming to America. And Mushu from it's too many.
Oh, okay.
Too many high hit characters.
I didn't expect you to go that way, but there you go. All right, here we go. Are you a night owl or you an early bird?
Early bird. I am in the bed. If my life, if I can pick and choose how this thing go, I'm in the bed by 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Every night. But I can get up at 4. But staying up past 11:30, and if I haven't like napped prior to, it's not a guarantee that I'm gonna be awake for the rest of that night. And everybody know it.
So you in bed 10 o'clock.
I'll be asleep at my house. I'll invite people over, having a good old time. I'll be nodding off in the corner. People, here you go, going to sleep. Y'all know what this is. Don't play.
That sounds like
I know what I do.
That sounds like me, man. I fall asleep anywhere, man. Even if
anywhere in mid conversation, it don't matter. I'm down.
If I hang in there, man, that's something supernatural was happening. All right. All right, here we go. Favorite dessert.
Whew. My mom makes a and I don't even know if I can count it as dessert, but it's a sweet. So because I eat it with the entree, it don't matter.
Okay.
My mom makes a sweet potato casserole.
Okay. With
the crusted and the pecans and the brown sugar on it. Man, I'll be ready to fight every single time.
There you go.
That's gonna have to be my favorite dessert.
Okay, there you go. So mama made that. So
mama made it. Yeah.
So can anybody duplicate it? Have anyone tried?
Probably not. I haven't tried anybody else's, just out of respect. And just to save myself the disappointment, because I mean, why? I already got a winner. Yeah.
Exactly. So are you a sports person?
Yeah.
Okay. Basketball, football.
Basketball. Basketball for me is more fun to watch.
Okay. And the playoffs are on right now, so I apologize.
My team out of it.
Who's your team?
The Dubs.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. There you go.
Oh yeah, man. Ever since they got, and so I'm from Virginia. We don't have any professional teams, so I didn't have any like hometown ties or nothing like that.
Right.
And was rock. I thought I was like, I love the back. I used to love the Pistons heavy. And then they traded Billups, and I was like, I don't like the Pistons no more. So I was like, maybe I'm just a player fan. But then Steph Curry, and Mark, the coach. I was just all in on that squad. And then we was trash, and I was still cheering for him. And then we weren't trash, so I was like, "Well, this worked out tremendously." So, been rocking with the Dubs, man. But no, yeah, basketball is close though. It's close. It's like a 1A, 1B between the two.
That's kind of what happened to me when I moved from Oakland. Then they started becoming good, so I missed all their amazing games, and I went to the dollar games and the giveaway games. That's the ones I was going to. So yeah, that's
you OG in it.
Right, man. Yeah, I missed all that, man. So, all right, here we go. Jodeci or Drew Hill? Man, you getting stumped.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go Jodeci. I think Cisco is the better front man.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I mean, but Jodeci. Oh, Come and Talk to Me remix. Just the remix by
Okay.
itself
There you go. The
is. I
remix.
mean, they got
That
some
was
heat.
it.
So I'm gonna have to go Jodeci.
All right. Last question. Here we
Mm,
go. I don't know if you watched any of these. Let me know if you haven't.
okay.
Saved by the Bell or Full House. This is the TJF lineup. I should have said.
Yeah, that's the. This is the time in my life where my brother controlled the remote. So like I would have to watch these shows, but not like by choice. But if I had to pick between ugh, I can I pick Family Matters
Yeah,
over both
Family Matters. I
over
was
both of
thinking
those?
probably Family Matters would probably be
Yeah, that's Family Matters. It'd be harder to pick Family Matters. Well, not harder. Family Matters and Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Obviously, Fresh Prince
Oh, I should
is
have
the
said
pick
that.
there.
Family Matters or Fresh Prince. That's a tough
Yeah,
one.
I mean, culturally, I'm more attached to the Family Matters than the Full Houses of the world. But yeah, Family Matters. Steve Urkel was the guy. Was the guy before he was Stefan. People try to jump on late.
Stefan Urkel.
Yeah, you try to cheer for him when he the butterfly and try to play him when he the caterpillar. That ain't right. That ain't right.
Yeah, Family Matters. I think. Ooh, man, that's tough. Yeah, I think I would watch them both faithfully, but
Fresh Prince is arguably one of the best. I mean, if not the best sitcom of all. It's up there.
Man, I gotta argue with you, man. I was
on Mount Rushmore.
I was a big My Wife and Kids show, so I don't know.
I feel like there's a tier of Black family sitcoms that don't get the shine that they. I mean, like if you were a fan of it, you are a big fan of it. There's nobody that's like hot or cold on these shows.
Right, exactly.
Everybody Hates Chris.
Oh yeah.
My Wife and Kids.
Yep.
Those are like two. I feel like slept on, like in the big scheme of things.
Those were it.
It's quality programming. Every single episode is good. Every season is good. You can watch any of them out of context. It doesn't matter. It's all quality programming.
Exactly.
So I'll forever be a Tyler James Williams and Damon Wayans fan.
There you
go. No matter what they do.
There you go. Well, man, appreciate you for playing, man. I feel like that was pretty good.
That's some good questions.
Yeah. There you go. I'm about to make up some more next season, man. I don't know what I'm gonna go with. But y'all, before we jump in, again, go ahead and share. Go ahead and heart it up. All right, let's get more people on here because, again, we have a lot of valuable insight for you to hear. We want to hear about this monumental teacher in Texas. All right, now we done been all over. We done started in Georgia. We dropped off in Illinois. Now we in Texas, y'all. So after he's done, go ahead and hit him up because I think he doesn't mind sharing. We'll get to this later. I'll tell you what he doesn't mind. So, but let's get into it, y'all. So we've been in this series of Black male educators, right? And so we started from my first experience with a Black teacher or Black male teacher, which was Mr. John Ray Pryor, my fourth grade teacher. And then we went to the vice principal of high school, Dr. Brandon Caffey. And now here we are. And Chris has a different perspective because he is in the elementary brand, right? He is a teacher of third graders. Third graders, y'all. He has a lot of patience, okay? But there's also a lot that he sees and that he shares, and even from his own life experience. So without further ado, I just want to ask you, man, how did you get started in education? Like, has this always been a passion for you? Like, how did this come up?
So I've jumped around as far as what I wanted to do from when I was younger. At first, I wanted to be a veterinarian, and I did not like animals. And my parents sat me down at Waffle House. I remember this very distinctly. They were like, "Hey, if you don't like dogs, you're probably going to see a lot of them as a vet." I was like, "I mean, y'all make a good point." So then I wanted to do medicine. I was a biology major freshman year. Only class I fell asleep in was biology. So I was like, this is probably not what I need to be putting all my eggs in a basket. So making a long story shorter, ended up going to seminary my out of undergrad. So going to seminary with a focus on youth ministry. Because at the time, after I graduated from high school, a year after that, I was working in our youth ministry as an assistant, doing a small group, sometimes preaching on like the fifth Sunday, fourth Sunday kind of rotation. But I really liked working with the youth. So I was going for youth ministry and Christian education. But then while there, I really feel like God really spoke to me, and I thought about the impact, right? So as a youth pastor, I can get 30 to 50 kids in a really, a big booming ministry for the size of the church that I was at.
Yeah.
For about 6 years. I get them from 7th through 12th grade. But if I were to be in a classroom, then I get to impact about 50 kids every year.
Yeah.
And then that might trickle down to their siblings or reach up to their parents. So it kind of gives me a larger realm of impact.
Right.
And then I also realized at the church that I was at, a lot of them, just the neighborhood, it was an affluent neighborhood. So these are kids that are having stable situations already at home, right? I'm not saying that they don't have problems. Everybody has problems, but the kind of atmosphere that they have in the house is very different than the base that I wanted to serve in teaching. So I felt like that would give me a chance to reach out. So I started my program, got my alternative certification. While I was doing that, I was working through an after-school program, and I was a site coordinator. So I would have the kids, we would kind of do tutoring a little bit, helping them with their homework, and then just had a program for them. So that ran for a semester before the program ended. But the principal at the school, she was like, "You're really good with the kids. I would love to have you on for longer if you wanted to teach." And I was like, "I'm actually going through it." So she was like, "Apply and then we'll get you going." So started teaching. That was March of 2014. No, March of 2015 is when I started teaching. So 3rd grade math and science team. And then that's just where I've been the whole time. But I was intentional on wanting to teach elementary school for a couple of reasons. You typically don't see Black men in education, number one, but Black men in elementary school that aren't a coach. So I didn't want to be a coach because I didn't want them to feel the first time that I might be the first Black man in authority that they've had, an experience with. Right. And I didn't want it to be where they felt like they had to audition for my love or for my attention. And this is not a knock toward coaches, obviously, but just the nature of that beast is that if I'm not good enough, then the coach is not going to pay attention to me. So I wanted to be at an age group where I was just their regular teacher, that they didn't have to perform any kind of additional thing to get my attention, to get my love. And I love math. Like, I really love math. And math is one of those things that people either love it or they hate it, like, to the core. Like, they don't even want to bring it up. You talk about math and they be like, "Yo, hey, hold off on that." Exactly. It's like, okay, my bad, bro. But I think that's tied a lot of times, like, it's tied to trauma. Like, that there is something that happened, whether it be like an embarrassment around like your inability to solve something, or getting teased for it, or whatever. But now it puts on this pressure situation. So you have where adults like 30s, 40s, 50s get clammy when it comes to having to do math on the spot. But that's something that's can be repaired, but it's much easier to just teach it right the first time. Like, if you learn something while you're having fun with it, then the attachment that you have to it is to that fun. You don't have an attachment of fear around it. Even if you fail while you're learning it, if you fail in a game, it's not as scary. But if you fail like on the multiplication drill page and they got the timer going, so now you got the pressure of the time, the pressure of memorization of your facts, like it's a lot. So I wanted to be able to introduce math concepts to kids in a way that was not intimidating. I wanted it to be in a way that's fun, so that way they associate it with something that's fun. So that was my main motivation, really, in getting in the classroom. And then 6 years later, I've had the privilege of being named Teacher of the Year on the campus for I think that was my second year teaching, and just being in math and science for third grade for the last 6 years. One of those years, the third grade class that I had, they taught the grade level up, so I was teaching fourth grade concepts. I'd really just gotten a chance to dig my roots in math and science heavy.
Man, this dude loves some math.
I do. I really do love math because it's not subjective. And it's universal. Math and music are two universal languages.
Right.
Like music it doesn't matter what you speak. Music is what music is because the notes always have to be the same. Math, it doesn't matter what language you speak. They've established an order of operations. So that way, no matter who's looking at a problem, we can all come about it the same way of solving it. And I like that. I like that there is a definitive answer to things. Just like, I mean, obviously there are things that don't have, that's not finite in math.
Right.
But 2 + 2 is 4. It doesn't matter how you feel about it, right? Where I feel like reading, I remember this, because this was always my gripe with reading is you can get whatever answer you want out of it. So it's so subjective. And I remember from high school, we were reading Of Mice and Men. I don't know if you've ever had to read the pleasure of reading Of Mice and Men. And I mean, of course, cool book, everything, right? But in there, she was saying, they were talking about there's a scene where they're playing cards and everything. And my teacher was like, yeah, and the author did this to symbolize that life is all about chance. And I was like, wow, but how do we know? Like, how do you know that was the writer's intention? But then also writers aren't going to come back and be like, yeah, it wasn't. That's what I was saying. They want it to be ambiguous. But like if I wrote something and then people like, see, and this is what he's using this to say, and it's something contrary to what I even thought of, like, so not saying that's a bad thing, but it's so open-ended. And I think that if you can just help kids think critically to these, like for math concepts, it's not open-ended, but it still is frustrating to people. So it's not even the answer that's the frustration, it's the process that's the frustration. So if I can teach the process in a way that's fun, then the answer finding becomes the mission instead of just a frustration of answer checking, So that was really the mindset behind going into why I wanted to do elementary education as opposed to like high school or anything like that.
Wow. Okay. So I have a question for you then. Well, a couple of questions. You mentioned seminary. Now, did you eventually graduate from seminary? Like, you actually went through with it, or did you realize like, you know what? I think I want to go this teaching route.
Yeah, so I did not finish. I had 1 year, and I realized it just that setting at that time was not what I needed. It wasn't the most beneficial. That sounds crazy. Seminary is beneficial. The setting for me at the time wasn't the most beneficial. This is 2013, 2014. So we're and just keeping it funky. Trayvon Martin, was 2012, I believe, 2011. Mike Brown, 2014. So this is right when this is really picking up. And for me, it was just hard to disassociate myself from, you know what I'm saying? Like that would weigh me down throughout the day. The seminary I was attending was predominantly white. And as my experience was from, most of my elementary to high school career is when you're the Black guy in the setting, then you become the representative for Blacks. And I just didn't, I was finding myself in a lot of conversations of, well, why didn't they? Well, what do you think? Why do y'all? And I didn't, you know what I'm saying? I didn't want to be in that space. And and it was also my first time where the Bible was homework. So that switch of you're reading it for joy and for pleasure, and now it's like you're reading it for a sign. It really does. It's a switch that you have to dedicate that energy to, and it was just hard for me at that time. So, but then I also had the opportunity to become the youth pastor, youth director at my church. So to juggle all of those, I'm like, if something's got to drop, I'd rather be in a classroom and be a youth pastor than to be a youth pastor in a seminary and not in the classroom.
Wow. Yeah, so we met. If I haven't mentioned this, but we met at Kids Across America. Now, and then
I
that
thought
was the
you were
only
gonna do
time.
the KAA. I was finna hit him with a
Oh,
you
yeah.
know. Like,
Okay, I forgot.
missed opportunity,
Because
man. I
that's
thought you were
that's
gonna
the
tee it up. I was like, okay,
uh,
bunting. All
no,
right.
that's the only time I went. Like that time, and that was it. Because the next year, I don't know if it was still going. Like something happened. I don't know.
You had never been like
I've
outside of
been
that
that.
one
That was
year?
it. That was that 1 year.
Oh, I went as a kid. I was one of them kids that came from across America. And then so to
Okay.
go as a Kaleo, that
Oh,
was on
okay.
like the flip side of it. Like that was a full circle kind of moment for me.
Are they still going?
I'm pretty sure. I don't see how they could stop. I mean, well, COVID,
Yeah,
but
with that.
I feel like there. I want to say I saw an ad here recently that they're like praying for this summer. So I'm thinking that they're kicking it back up.
Okay, that'll be dope. That'll be dope. So, so now you're in elementary, right?
Mm-hmm.
You become an elementary school teacher. And since we're talking about black male educators, have you taught a predominantly white class, or what's the dynamics of your classroom?
So I've taught in Pleasant Grove and South Dallas and Oak Cliff. So if you're not from Texas, that might not mean much to you.
Where my
But if
Texas
you're
people
from,
at? I had to say something.
come on now, one time for 214-972 in there. But if you're from Texas, you know that those are not going to be predominantly white classrooms. So my
Okay.
first school, it was roughly 50% black, 50% Hispanic. It was about a half and half split.
Okay.
I taught at 3 schools. So one school I was there for 4 years, my first school. And then I was at a private school for a year. That was predominantly black as well. And then the school I'm at now is a public school, but it's predominantly black. So
okay.
I've maybe taught 3 or 4 white children for my whole career.
Wow. And so that's the switch. Because, you know, we were talking with Dr. Caffey, is that he did have the opportunity to, you know, teach a predominantly white classroom. But then for you, here's the flip side, 3 in your whole career. So, and easily it's like, okay, well, we have to end the show because, you know, whatever, we're talking about black male educators and predominantly white. No, we're talking about just black male educators in general. So what would you say develops in that type of atmosphere for a predominantly black classroom, seeing a black male teacher? What kind of walk us through that? What do you see take place in those settings?
Comfort, community. Kids don't have to. I know there are instances where I don't need a secondary explanation.
Yeah.
But if it were another teacher, they would have to explain it differently or approach it differently. For my black girls, I think it means grace. I think it means grace for my black students, and I'll say that because I find that I see that black boys get a short, and black girls typically will get a shorter leash when it comes to like and that's such a terrible term, but that's what it is. They get a shorter leash in the sense that like what they're allowed to express before it's deemed as disrespectful.
Okay.
So I remember this my first year teaching, and there was this girl, one of my students in the classroom, got the answer right. And she was like, "Yeah, that's right. I told y'all." And I said, "Okay, let's tone that down now." But she's excited, right? Like this is somebody celebrating getting an answer right, but she just needs to know like what a proper way to express that. But I know that in a different setting, it can be deemed that she was getting loud, she was getting you know what I'm saying? Like she's getting disrespectful, stuff like that, and that's not true to the nature of what's actually happening in that moment. The context, I think that a lot of context is lost. When it's somebody that doesn't look like you, you know. So, but there's also that sense of community. There are jokes that I can make, or there are things that they can say that I already understand without them having to explain because I'm in that culture. Right? If they say it's lit, I'm like, oh, are we talking about a candle? Like I'm, you know, I'm them. I look like their dad, their uncle, their brother. So there's a lot of ways that they can, you know, oh, I see you with the waves, Mr. Francois. Like that's just like there's already that commonality there with my kids. So there's a chance for community off the bat, where as opposed to having to earn that necessarily, like they got to work to get to know each other. We already kind of have a baseline.
So that comfortability, like kind of the example you just made, the girl celebrated, she's excited. And the fact, I think that she knows that doesn't make you nervous and you're not looking at her in another way. And you're able to say, all right, let's just turn it down though, a little bit. I feel like that's that instant connection. Like, I'm saying, So, so are there a lot of hats that you wear? Because getting a chance to be in that environment, you said community. Are you some kid's father figure? Have you seen that played out?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And that's what makes it. That's what does it for me. That's what makes it all worthwhile. But there's so many stories, so many anecdotes, right? But one in particular, and well, a few of them. But there was a kid that he was very, very, very bright kid, and he was in the gifted and talented program and was just bombing assignments in my class. I mean, failing back to back, and it was wild. Because at a point, like when your kids fail, when one kid fails, you're like, okay, maybe, but the whole class fails, you're like, okay, I failed them. If nobody's understanding this. So the rule of thumb is like, if I teach something new for the first time that nobody in my class has seen, if somebody gets 100, then I taught it right. So at least if one person gets 100, then I'm good. He was one of those kids where he could explain everything back to you, but then would when testing came or anytime, would just bomb and then would just shut down when like, hey, what's going on, man? And immediately he's like crying. He can't explain to me what's going on. So I talked to mom and I'm like, I'm really concerned because there's some kind of block here and I don't know what's going on. But mom's situation was that he couldn't stay for tutoring because like his apartment was pretty far from the school. So he had to leave at the end of school so he could walk with a group of kids that already go to that apartment.
Right.
But if he had stayed afterwards, he had to walk by himself and his mom was already at work. So it wasn't going to be able to work. So I told her, well, at the time I'm married, but like my wife is in law school. So I didn't have like the obligation of like, I need to be home or like, whatever. So I offered to have him stay for tutoring and I would drop him off. And just in like 3 months of doing that, like the conversations that we're able to have, the growth that I'm able to see to where he wouldn't really say anything. And now like he's looking for me. He would be so excited like when he got a haircut and then he just be standing by the door like, I'm like, okay, I see you. And now
right.
Grinning all hard, but kids so many, it's really countless stories, but I fall into that role. In my classroom specifically of father figure so many times, but then even on the campus wide, one of the unfortunate things, and I know that this has come up before in this series, is that you do fall into the role of being a disciplinarian.
Yeah.
That they just see you as a Black man, that you are going to be the disciplinarian. So I had to, and then also it's the burden of the beast is that I'm the only man on my team. If I'm the only male on my team, then I got to keep working. So, or I got to, if something happens, I'm the one that's going to be breaking up as opposed to the ladies on my team. We still good?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to StreamYard because this is often occurrence that I just stop. It just cuts off. So I'm gonna have to holler at them, man.
Oh no.
Yeah.
This is the same feeling I get when I feel like I'd be telling all my students because I tell them, hey, so-and-so saying they lost their jacket today. I'm trying to help. And the parent like, oh, you lost that brown jacket. I was like, oh no. I'm about to get in trouble on their own accord.
Right.
But so the burden of the beast of like being a disciplinarian is, I think, for part of the reason is that like there's not a lot of males on campus. So the few that they have, they're gonna ask you to intervene.
Right.
But there's something about being the Black man in school. We always get that role lumped into us. So what would happen typically is, especially in my first school, all of the kids that had behavior problems, or we had a behavior unit at our school, and majority of those kids, they would be put in my classroom because I have good classroom management.
Okay.
When they take that, it's like, okay, well, because you have good classroom management, we're gonna give you all of the problems. Right. We want you to work all the magic. But then I also had to get certified to restrain kids. So in the environment that I was working in, initially I was restraining kids or breaking up fights like 2 to 3 times a week on a pretty consistent basis for a few years. So I feel like a lot of that with being young, with being black male, and that was just the burden that I had to bear. So, but that's not my nature. I'm not like a mean guy, and that's also not my teaching style. Most of anybody that's been in my classroom or worked with me know that I'm like the way that I am with the kids. I'm trying to I have high expectations, but I'm as I am with regular adults. Like I'm making jokes, I'm building relationships. So I'm not like a warden.
Right.
So I don't want to always have to step in that role. So I try to diffuse the situation as opposed to trying to get physical, but I don't like having to be in the role of being a disciplined guy every time. Because then now I'm breaking up fights with kids that I don't know. So now it's just have to be, and I got to kind of make a quick connection. It's not fun. You know what I'm saying? It's not the fun part of teaching. So all teachers wear tons of hats, but I think that for sure, that's one that any black man that's been a teacher, I feel like on any setting has been asked or lumped on more disciplinarian roles. I'm sure that's been most people's experience.
Wow. Yeah, that's what's up, man. That's definitely a common occurrence, and just because you have good, classroom management, I mean, like, let's just take John. Let's take John. Let's take Anthony. He's like, yeah, he can get them straight. Like, no, y'all can have the same thing I have.
But it's like it's just like LeBron James now. Can LeBron James play defense now? Yes. But if that's what y'all want from him, then you're going to lose energy elsewhere. So, I got good classroom management. A teacher might have strong classroom management. But if all the classes are discipline issues, then how much energy do you want them to be able to go academically? There's got to be a balance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So that kind of runs you down. They want you to be the disciplinarian and be excellent
tired.
teacher.
You be tired. I'm like, I'm not finna. I don't want to teach y'all about equivalent fractions because I done had to break up 3 fights this morning and it's 9:30. I'm not. No, I don't. I don't want to go on. But you got to get back on stage.
Right.
You got to push through.
Yeah. So we're talking about, and the studies show that, any kid, but specifically Black students, feel that they can achieve and succeed when they see a Black male in the role of a teacher. Are you able to kind of speak to that a little bit? Have you seen like kids go from not really wanting to seeing you and experiencing your teaching to now kind of coming out of that and really want something for their lives, even in 3rd grade?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I think 3rd grade is a really kind of a pivotal age. At least for in Texas, that's the year where state testing begins. Okay. It's also a pretty big jump for the math curriculum as far as what they have to know for 2nd grade to what they have to know for 3rd grade. It's like one of the largest jumps from one grade level. But then also that's that 8, 9, 10 age range. Okay. So kids are starting to smell themselves, literally. Mustiness is starting to happen, right? Yep. But like all these hormones are kind of like they're starting to build up into that middle school bridge. But then it's also that age where like school is still cool. Like school, like you're not like too old for school. And then also you're not like too big to like you're not afraid of your teacher. Not in a bad way, but like there's got to be some kind of like, oh, this is a big adult. Like we're now like 5th graders be my height, so they like, what up, bro? I'm like, no, don't call me bro. Just because you can look me in my eye, don't mean I'm bro.
Right.
So as far as like making that growth happen, absolutely. I've had this is like one of my favorite incidences because I just had a really good connection with this kid. Beginning of the year, he refused to say sir. Like, and that's big on me because respect is number one, because if I'm going to respect you. So this has to be a two-way street. It can't be that you're demanding all the respect and you can treat me any kind of way. That's not fair. Refused to say sir. Would get, fist balled up. He's shaking, crying like it. So, okay, so in my mind, this communicates that there was a sir in his life that has caused some kind of friction.
Right.
And just any person that's coming to that is not, he just can't respect it off bat. So it was work. It was work working with him. But then also could not read very well.
Okay.
Beautiful penmanship, but struggle with reading and struggle with math because he struggled with reading. And by the time you're in third grade, math test is a reading test. Like everything's a word problem. So if you can't read, you're really just down bad. So, that was like a violent reaction. Anytime I'm just asking him to say, sir, by the end of the year, and I know it sounds like, I'm going to give this example, and I know that it sounds bad. On one end, academically, he went from being on a kindergarten level to a end of the year second grade level, just in that 1 year with me. Wow. So we got a chance to cover a lot of ground. Got some reading interventions with him. Really worked with his math computation. He ended up being a whiz at multiplication.
Wow.
So finding those things that he was really strong at was really clicking. But then one of like the teacher side things is at the end of the year, toward the end of the year, somebody said something. The kids was having the issue, and somebody said something toward me, and he jumped up. You ain't finna talk about Mr. Francois like that. And he was the one that was about it. So if he jumped up, it was finna go down. And so after I broke up the fight, I was proud because not that I'm not condoning violence, obviously. But if somebody is willing to stand up for it, he was really willing to have my back and take on the consequences. He had been in many fights that year. He knew what the consequences were of fighting, and he was willing to take on that in defense of my name. When at the beginning, he didn't even want to refer to my name. I'm like, that's a huge 180. That's a kid that you got that kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you can get a kid like that, where you can make that switch, then he's in it. He's in it. He sees the value in it at that point in learning and how it's changed him. So, that was really the mission, man. That's been the mission, educating the whole child. And really proud of a program we did, Guys with Ties and Girls with Pearls.
Okay.
So had some friends from Facebook and just from life donate some ties for my kids, and it started out that every Wednesday the boys would put on these ties because they had to wear polo shirts anyways. And so nobody could put a tie on by themselves. You had to help somebody else out. So they had to build that community. If you saw somebody else's tie messed up, you had to go fix it. You can't wear your tie with your shirt untucked. So they had to be right with the dress code. Before we left, fellas, make sure y'all get dressed. We had a mirror in the classroom, so they were getting right. Girls was hating big time, and I understand. So then we started doing Girls with Pearls. So the girls got pearl necklaces, and we would do that every Wednesday. And then they were asking for it so often, we did it every day. But it really changed the image of it. So I had one of my old high school teachers, and she brought her students and I think a parent and another teacher. She brought all of them there. They gave my kids ties. And one of my kids, he was like, Mr. Francois, this is the first time I felt like a man. And I was, bro, you want to talk about, I was finna cry right there. Wow. But that was the growth that I really wanted them to love the image of themselves. You know, that was important to me, because this is all round back to the question, but representation does matter. Representation is huge. I wrote a paper in college, and we had to pick some TV show and how it made a political gain. And I was saying how the Cosby Show really got Obama elected into office. And the reason why I argue that is that when you go from Amos and Andy and Step and Fetch It, where the representation of black men is you know what I'm saying? Like that, the Jim Crow kind of representation, minstrel kind of act, if you will. That then now, and it grew each decade, right? That we went from good times, we scratching and surviving, right? And then now the Jeffersons,
right? They got a little money now.
Got a little bit of money now. Now, but it was clearly like you got into some money and this is a new situation. Like y'all deluxe apartment in the sky. The Cosby's was not new money.
Nope.
Nor was it presented as outside the norm.
It
was just two Black professionals that, that just happened to have a brownstone in New York. Like, and it was just so casual. So then after that happens, then you can have on Grey's where the chief of residence and the chief of surgery, which is a show I don't watch, but I watch it vicariously enough to know that first off, the showrunner is a Black woman. The chief of surgeon and the chief of residence are Black. So then when you think about having a Black president, well, you've already seen on television for the last 20, 30 years, Black professionals. So when you see Obama, while it might be shocking to some, they already saw Bill Cosby, you know what I'm saying? So that representation, while people might not be on the ballot box saying I'm voting for this because I was implicitly I wasn't, I was persuaded by what, they're not going to say that, but it does matter. You can see the fanfare around Black Panther. Anytime that people get something that's theirs, it blows up. And I recognize the strength in that. So I wanted that for my students. So I wanted them to love what they looked like. I wanted them to be proud of their self-image, of their skin. I wanted them to be proud of what they know and what they don't know, to not be ashamed of that, but to look at it as an opportunity of what I get to know here soon. Surrounded all the books in my classroom either were written by Black authors or had Black main characters, right? So I wanted them to, because there's plenty of time for you to go read whatever, Mark Twain, whoever, that's always going to be out there. But a Soulway is not always going to be out there. A Firebird is not always going to be out there. Katherine Johnson, the Hidden Figures, all these characters that we can learn about it and have fun with that look like you. You don't have to, there's people that look like you that are doing these amazing things. Right. So when you see a teacher that looks like you, then you're like, oh, this is possible. Yeah. So then now, I want to be a teacher. All you got to do is go to college. So then now that's the realm that they're going to. Right. Because kids are going to look up to whatever's around them. I had a girl in my class and I said, what do you want to be when you grow up? She said, I want to work at Walmart. And she wanted to work at Walmart because her mama worked at Walmart. There's no shame in that. Right. But if that's all she's ever exposed to, then who's to say she can't work somewhere else? Why can't she be a district manager if she does want to go the Walmart route? Absolutely. Right. But they have to be exposed to more. And that includes more people that look like them in roles that they're not used to seeing people that look like them in. Exactly. That's deep, man. That's deep. That representation goes a long way, for sure. All right. So you're teaching in a predominantly Black classroom, but we spoke last night. You didn't go to a predominantly Black school yourself. So kind of what's the contrast in that? And before you answer that question, y'all, I need y'all to be sharing. All right. Again, we have Chris Francois here wrapping up the series of Black male educators. So I need y'all to share this because this is some good stuff he's spitting out. But I need y'all to share it. All right. I need your teacher friends to see this. I need them to hear this. So we can get this word out and let them know what's really going on. So, but you were not in a predominantly Black school as a student. So what's the contrast between what you see now and kind of what you experienced then? So it was like a predominantly Black sandwich for me. So when I was younger as a kid, in Virginia, our church was also our school. So, and it was predominantly Black. I had Black male teachers. I think my brother's teacher, Brother Pryor, Black man. I had Black women as teachers. So that was 6 days out of the week. I'm going up to this and I'm seeing predominantly Black people. My community is predominantly Black. My parents' friends were predominantly Black. So I knew white people existed, but they weren't just in my every day to day. Right. We moved to Texas. I am like the Black boy. My friend Ahmed, he moved in like December. So like for one semester, it was just me. I think like one Black girl maybe. And then that became more of the trend from this. I'm in Texas now from 3rd grade to 12th grade. Going to Wiley too is where I graduated from high school. Wiley is not predominantly Black. It was definitely like when we got there, like 20 years prior, it was like the first Black family was there. So it's grown, but it's still it's not there yet, obviously. But it was a different experience because there I was the Black Chris.
Okay.
You know, that I was and would have to defend my blackness or you know, like or be the representative of all Black people. So then after that, I went to that was one of the reasons why I really wanted to go to Howard University.
Okay.
My mom's an alum, my aunt is an alum. I'm from Virginia, so with it being in DC, it was back home. But
my wife went there too. She Howard graduate.
Look, and my wife's a Howard graduate, so nice. they make the best women.
What year did she graduate?
2013.
Okay. No, she know, but I think she graduated 2008.
Okay. Yeah. And it was funny. A funny story for that. When we went to Howard, my mom is hyped, right? So she's like, "Yeah, I'm an alum." We're in line to drop off the stuff for the dorm. So this girl comes by. She's like, "Oh my gosh, what year did you graduate? You're an alum." My mom's like, "I graduated in '88," and the girl's like, "I was born in '88," and then the car window was just like. My mom had she was done with that conversation. But what I loved about Howard was that like I was no longer Black Chris. You know when you describe somebody, they're like, "Hey, who's Johnny?" You know Johnny with the Johnny with the arms. Like,
they really say, Chris, you know the Black Chris, the Black dude.
Because when you say Black Chris, they automatically know who I am, which means that you don't have to know anything past my skin color to identify me.
Right.
But then now, if I'm at Howard, Black Chris, you know how crazy all the Chris's here are. What are you talking about? The Black
Chris. Which Chris?
The funny one. The one that's really good at math. The one that's really good at. So now they have to actually know me as a person just to acknowledge or can make a connection with somebody else. Right. That's that immediate community that I'm talking about, where when you're not always the other, then it's easier. So then with most of my career as a student being in that other category, now as a teacher, when I'm teaching with kids where they're not in the other,
right,
there's a different comfortability that they have in a classroom than they might have with somebody else. You'll have more freedom to try more things with your hair, like girls with natural hair. Like you'll be more excited about that. With boys with clothes, like girls with clothes, there's more freedom there because a girl can show up with Bantu knots and I can be super excited, as opposed to if she's in a school where she's other, then now everybody's trying to, can I touch your, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a completely different reaction to those kind of experiences.
And did you experience, let's say if you got a haircut, have you said, man, I need to go get my hair cut? And they ask you, why?
The worst way. Yes. Oh my gosh. You don't have any hair.
Right.
Really. You all see it? It's a different color. Like you can touch it and that is hair.
Right.
Oh man. I had an afro in middle school and everybody wanted, can I touch the afro? Even like in middle school, I was and the beast of the nature too is I ended up being in a lot of advanced courses. So in those classes, it's going to be a few Black girls and then like me, because statistically Black women are the most educated women, they're the most educated subgroup of any demographic, men or women, any race, right? Black women are. So in those advanced classes, you're going to have a lot of Black girls in there, but you're not going to have a lot of Black boys. So it might be 2-3 Black girls, 1 Black guy. I'm still Black Chris in that situation, you know what I'm saying? But it's just really, it's a different kind of vibe. When you're in that other group, you're already on defense. Let me make sure I don't do this too much or it's going to be taken as, you know what I'm saying? Like I can't be too loud. I have to be the Black representative because I don't know how many other of me they know. So then there's a pressure of, I need to always be at my best. I need to watch how I respond to certain situations. I can't, you know what I'm saying? So I was in middle school and we were reading Huckleberry Finn and the teacher made the decision that we were reading out loud in a class, and she made the decision that people could read the N-word. And instead of just asking me to, like, if, you know what I'm saying? Like, even if that's the decision you want to make, instead of asking the Black student, whenever it comes up, do you feel comfortable being the one reading it? No, it was just like a popcorn read. But then you could see the kids like They see that the words in their paragraph, they're excited. They're like gearing up to say it and like drop some emphasis on it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
But in the setting, we're just reading the book. So it's not, you know what I'm saying? That those kind of incidences don't happen when you're the majority in that situation, you know? So that experience for me, I was like, no, I want to work specifically with Black. I know that there are supposed to be, every kid deserves a great teacher. I'll say, this is what my thought process. Every kid deserves a great teacher. But statistically speaking, when white students don't have a teacher that knocks their socks off, they tend to still end up being okay. Like they can find one, they can still find a way to be successful. But a lot of times our Black kids, if you don't have somebody that hooks you, that this teacher is what for me made school fun or made math fun, or when they taught science, now I knew I wanted to be a marine biologist, like whatever. If you don't have that person that sparks that for you in the classroom, then the fall off rate, especially in the areas that I'm in, these kids aren't even making it past 6th grade, 8th grade. So I need to get them to love what they're doing now, so that way it sticks.
Something interesting that Dr. Caffey has shared, and basically what he shared was there's nothing wrong with him, you know, as he struggled in these classes. There's more so something wrong with the curriculum, right? Did you see any issues as a teacher, you know, when you look through the curriculum? How much of yourself did you have to pour into that to make it make sense to these students? You know, because you couldn't teach it at face value. So how much of yourself did you have to pour into these lessons?
Yeah, you really have a lot. They're not written with my demographic in mind, with my customer base in mind, you know. So for example, when they you'll see a word problem, and it's they went skiing on or whatever the passage is about, some family going on a ski trip, or some family spelunking, and my kids don't have experience. You know what I'm saying? Really though, my kids don't have experience with snorkeling or skiing or something. So a lot of times what I have to do is it might be like a 5-minute hook at the beginning of the lesson going into what snorkeling is, what skiing is, just a basic, this is what this looks like. So when they ask you a question, so there might be a multiplication problem, right? This family went skiing, and 7 people went skiing. How many skis were there? If you've never skied, you don't know they come in pairs.
Right.
And if there's no picture on that problem, then anybody that's never skied is already at a disadvantage. So then now I have to, because my kids just don't have that lived experience, whereas other students, it might not be uncommon for them, even if they don't live in colder environments. If your parents have money, it's a good chance you could have gone skiing by the time you were 10, or at least seen it before, you know, where it could have been an option for you. So I have to introduce that, or give my kids a lot of these experiences that poverty won't allow them to have, or being economically disadvantaged won't allow you to have. If your family has lived in the same zip code for 3-4 generations, you're probably not going on trips to the Alps. You know, like that's just realistic. It's not realistic. So
our trips was like, our vacation was like an hour away. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
I get to go to my aunt's house. Where your aunt stay? Fort Worth. Okay, I mean, like, you drove an hour. That's cool, but that, like, they looking forward to that for like 2 months. You know what I'm saying? Like, I see my grandma every summer. That's your trip. And grandma
that's
stay
the
2
trip.
hours
That's the
away.
vacation. Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly. So what's, and then look, before you know it, it's already almost an hour. Like, it felt like it was about 20 minutes of us just chopping it up, and that's how fast these things go.
I can talk for as long as you want me to. If I need to shut up, let me know.
No, you good. No, good. Because we normally keep it an hour, but I'm just saying, like, an hour just went by just like that, man. And
it's not enough time.
It's not enough time. It's definitely
it's the finale though, right?
Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out a way, and if people are watching, y'all need to, because I have a podcast too. Do you need Chris to come back on for the podcast version? Do you need a part 2, or do you need a part 2 of the series? Did you feel like you did not get enough? I need y'all to answer that in the comments. All right. I also need you to share too. I'm gonna keep saying this because I have Mr. Chris Francois here in the building, and he got a lot to share. So what's so you've been in the game for 6 years. You've been father, mentor, brother, cousin, uncle. You love math and science. And look, yes, we need Chris to come back. Who's Lisa Francois? Who's that?
I never heard of this woman. That's
Who's
my
this
mama.
lady?
I never heard of this random fan. Thank you, random fan. Oh my gosh,
this lady.
Random fans. I love the random fans.
But yeah, we need to somewhere along the line run a part 2, run a podcast, because again, these shows are never enough time. Look at that again. Who's Jasmine Francois?
I don't know, but she kind of fine, bro. I'm trying to holler. That's my wife.
For all y'all, they're like, did he say he was married?
This brother is scandalous on live. Got no rules
on live. Bold. But yeah, we definitely need a part 2. But we're not done yet, because you need to tell us what's the future holding for Mr. Chris Francois, the teacher. What's happening?
Man, so I know it's a crazy build-up to talk for an hour about my life and education, and then to have this shift. But for the future of me, this is my last year in the classroom, and wow. There are a number of reasons. We talked about this. Mm-hmm. I told you I'm dropping this bomb. I guess now some of my close friends and family know, but
dropping it right here on Tell It, y'all.
Dropping it live on Tell It. Right. We need the funk flex the bombs on there. But for a few reasons. So I know earlier you asked me, has this always been a dream of mine? Mm-hmm. And honestly, the only job that I've ever always wanted to be or have was a father. Mm. That's the only one that's been consistent. And mainly because my dad, Anthony Francois, is an amazing man. And he made fathering so fun that I was like, I want whatever this is, I want in. So February 7th, 2019, I got jumped into the gang and became a dad. Beautiful, smart. He's just an amazing kid. And last year when he was born, or after that year, went to a private school. His daycare is on the same campus as the private school. So I'm driving to work and also dropping him off. If something's happening, they're calling me. I'm walking 15, 20 feet to go check in on them. I loved having that much access. I loved being the one talking to the teacher, asking about what's going on, what does he need, blah, 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 blah. Making the runs during the lunch break. Like, I loved all of that. So this year, being at a new school, he still had the same daycare, which was like best daycare in Dallas. Beautiful Beginners Christian Academy. Little plug right there. But I wasn't able to drop him off at school anymore. And I didn't think it would hurt as much as it did. I don't like that. And then number one, my wife's not a morning. You asked, am I a morning person or a night owl? I'm the morning person. She's the night owl. So she's having to make the sacrifice of getting up in the morning. And it's hard. It's a sacrifice for sure. And she does it because she's a warrior. But I want to just take that because it's something I want to do. And I also don't want to see her struggle with it. So that's number one. But when I became a father, I want to be the type of dad that is on the field trips, that is at the PTA meeting, that is at the school party. That's the kind of dad I want to be. And being in a classroom, even if he's at the school that I'm teaching at, wouldn't allow it. But my ministry behind teaching, I don't want him to be at the school. Like, I teach outside of where I live because I want to impact those communities. But I don't necessarily want to bring my son there because I'm trying to do. It's a ministry for me. Like, teaching is a ministry. So he gonna be somewhere else, which it just makes it that I'm not able to attend more things like I would like to. But then also there are things that are happening. And number one, teaching in the pandemic is tough. So shout out to anybody that is a teacher. There's a lot of people that this is their first year teaching. I'm sorry that this was your first year as an experience.
Wow. Yeah.
That is kudos to you for sticking through it. If you cry every day you get home, that does not mean that you're doing it wrong. It is just that hard of a job. But all of the response, I think the pandemic has shown a few things. Number one, it shows how necessary teachers are in this system. But the system goes so that all of the responsibility is put on the backs of teachers. Right. And a lot of times people making those decisions haven't been in the classroom for years, if at all.
Mm-hmm.
So you have someone that's like a good businessman that might get, this is not anybody in particular, but you have a good businessman that is put on a school board, and now he's trying to run the school like a business. Like, oh, well, if this factory isn't performing well, we just shut down the factory. Okay, but we're not making tires. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to make critical thinkers. So you can't approach a school like it is a business and make the same kind of decisions, like where everything is money first as opposed to what is actually important for the kids.
Yeah.
Like this year in the pandemic, we have all these different things going on. Our assessments increased. We were testing our kids more and more. And this would be the year for more flexibility from our teacher creativity to really spill out. But instead, we're testing the kids every 2 weeks. Like, what are you looking for? We know there's a learning loss. There's a global learning loss. So instead, give people the chance to be creative in how we're going to catch them up, as opposed to seeing every 2 weeks, oh, how bad is it? I mean, that's like getting on the scale every day is not going to help you lose weight.
Right.
And sometimes if it's not going the way you want it to, psychologically, that's going to bog you down. So you got a kid that's trying and they're behind, but they keep getting tested and they keep getting 20s and 30s. That's not encouraging that child. You need to give them more time in between tests so they can have a chance to practice the skill and actually get better at it. So the primary reason is that just being a dad has become my number one priority since we found out we were pregnant, honestly. Like the next day I went to my school at the time and I was like, yeah, y'all. So whenever that baby show up, I'm out. However much leave I can get. And I had 13 weeks of unpaid leave just to be, because I'm like, I'll never get this time again. But I've been pouring into everybody else's kids for so many years. Like when I have the opportunity to pour into mine, I'm going to do that.
Right.
So that's the number one.
So this kind of pandemic thing kind of was a blessing for you because you stayed home more, than usual. So,
but see, I wish. Because Texas was like, y'all get back out there. So that's another thing too. They're like, man, pandemic, woo, COVID, that's crazy. Anyways, we're gonna get y'all some plexiglass and y'all can just kind of figure this thing out. So like we're teaching. I got kids in person. I've had kids in person since October. Wow. So I have kids in person and I have kids online. So they really went from the pandemic. This is how everything was crazy. It was shut down. We were on spring break. All these other schools around us are shutting down. So we're trying to figure out what's going to happen. Some schools are extending their spring break. Some aren't. Gets to us. The announcement is made that we're not going to extend our spring break. Instead, the Monday following spring break is going to be a staff development day. And then that next Tuesday, we're virtual for the rest of the school year. So you're asking teachers that have done, like we have the trend now in pedagogy is small group. Right. You want it to be manipulative rich. You want to have anchor charts. You want tactile learning. You want your kids to have hands-on learning. So all the resources that we made, we're laminating everything, making all these resources to have a manipulative rich environment that kids can have tactile learning and everything is visual, is right there, boom, popping out of them. You want me to convert that into an online class in 24 hours. Yep. It's an entirely different profession. So it's not the same style that I like. And we talked about it, but my strengths, you got to know what you're good at. This is in whatever you do. And it's not like you can do that and still be humble. I gotta be humble to God. Exactly. I don't gotta be humble to everybody and like, dampen down my skills. Right. I'm good at content delivery and I'm good at classroom management because what I'm able to do is create an environment, create an ecosystem in my classroom that everybody's contributing. And whatever else you got going on, we're going to acknowledge that, but we're going to leave it at the door. Right. You know what I'm saying? That it still influences you as a person. And that's why we got to acknowledge that. But it can't be the thing that stops you from doing what you're doing. Right. You might have a rough home situation, but in this classroom, you have an opportunity to succeed. And we're going to at least to try. You have to at least try, no matter what's going on. But now, with my students being on Zoom, my ecosystem oftentimes gets pollution and runoff from all these other different environments that I have a student that I can't even unmute it because there's so much cursing in the background.
Absolutely.
I have had this set of parents this year cuss me out on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
Something that would not have happened there's no way a parent is walking to my classroom
and then
cuss me out in
there.
front of my kids.
Exactly.
But now in Zoom, I can't even. So now I'm still trying to protect my students. They're third graders. Like there's an innocence there.
Right.
And now you are showing all the things that we're trying to keep them from being.
Yeah.
For like, it wasn't even justified. And I mean, it never is justified to act like that. But the mom was doing the daughter's work and then got mad that I didn't call on the daughter. But it wasn't even the example. Anyway, I'm like, man, that's not even what I'm looking for. It is what you're looking for. How are you going to tell me what the right answer is? So I guess the mom was mad I didn't acknowledge her work. But stuff like that, like I can't even control that. I can't even control that my kids can't see that. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's so little control that the teachers still have. But then all the accountability is still lumped on the teachers.
Yeah.
And there's no accountability on anybody else. Like if I have a student there, we have kids that I have a student that I had not seen since September. Mm-hmm. Like she just doesn't come on Zoom. Sometimes she'll do online work, like 1 to 2 assignments every 9 weeks. Been getting a hot, and so then what they're telling me is that they want me to give her a 50. But if I have a student that shows up every day and gets a 40, how do I justify giving a student a 50 whose parents aren't even concerned if they log into school or not? Right. You can't get truancy, it's online. Yeah. So they submitted an assignment from September. Or if they submitted an assignment at 11:59 p.m., then I have to mark them as present, even though the class period is the school day is from 8 to 3. Right. So there's not even an accountability for absences and for truancy. There's no, and then the kid can go the whole school year not submitting work, but then it's a discussion on can we even retain this kid? Right. So there's so little that's taken out of the teacher's hands, yet there's so much that's asked for teachers. And then that's how burnout happens. Because I read a post that said any job that has to have an appreciation week, you're not getting paid enough, or they asking too much of you. And that's how it is for teachers. Teachers have all the responsibility and none of the acknowledgement. Very little of the acknowledgement. They'll say teachers are heroes and what you do in the classroom is amazing. And then they're going to tell you that the kids don't have to wear a mask anymore. So which one is it? You know what I'm saying? That we're heroes, but teachers don't need to be protected. Like the language behind it is not it's not supportive. And for me, it's hard to be under a system that I know is cracking when I don't have to be. So that you got two choices. You either try to work your way up through the system to be the one that fixes, or you step outside of the system and see how else you can fix it. And I just didn't have the interest of investing 5 to 10 more years at this moment to go up the ranks to try to make some decisions, because I can make it. My principal now is fantastic, and even she makes great decisions for our school, and she still has her hands tied. Right. You know, so she's worked her way up the ranks and still has to take orders. So unless I had my own school, which I'm not going to start next school year, it's possible, but it's not going to happen next school year. It's hard to be in a system that is fully relying on you, but not fully supporting you.
Right. Wow, man, that's deep, because I know every teacher felt every bit of that. Oh my goodness. And what they had to learn, even for those teachers who were not technologically savvy, and they had to go and put every lesson online, and that's probably what they tried to avoid their whole career. But
and then you go from being not tech savvy to where you're IT. Yeah. So I'm talking to my kids on Zoom. Okay, you say you can't see what? Press the blue. Do you see it should be a box with it? So now I'm trying to get the kids to, how just to turn the camera on. My kids are not, like, outside of me being tech savvy, elementary school virtually. I don't know how pre-K teachers do it. Kindergarten, I don't know how they do it. because it is so difficult with third graders. You would think that they know.
Difficult with high schoolers.
Right. You would think that they were like, oh, you on that phone all day. They on that phone all day. They're not on a Chromebook. They're not on Zoom. The kids are on TikTok. You ask them how to make a TikTok video, they got you. But these kids are not looking up encyclopedias and doing Google forms all day. It's a different thing. Just because they have one piece of electronic, like one piece of technology, doesn't mean it's a even kill for all of them.
Exactly. Man. Well, man, look, thank you for jumping on. Thank you for agreeing to come on. I think you hit on a lot of different perspectives, especially what teachers felt this year.
Oh, man.
See, it did it again, man.
Hey, StreamYard finna get it.
I'm about to holler at StreamYard, man, because they've been doing it recently. I don't know. I'm about to. I got to write them a mean letter.
Yeah, dear Mr. StreamYard.
After I get off of this, because that is unacceptable. But to wrap everything up, I know you're stepping out, so you're done being a teacher. But what advice, in about a couple of minutes, what advice could you give to anyone that is considering, or a Black male specifically? You know what? I want to change this up. What would you say to a person that's not Black, and they're not male? So I don't know if it's a white female or Hispanic female, whatever, or someone's not Black, maybe a white male, to try to connect with students, some of their Black students. What advice would you give them to succeed? Because obviously you don't have to be Black to succeed, with a predominantly Black class or a diverse classroom, but you do have to succeed. So what steps can they take?
I would say care about your kids. Actually care about your kids. Listen to them. When you ask them, how are you? Listen. When you ask about their family, listen. And don't ask with assumptions. Hey, who do you stay with? What'd you guys do this weekend? What are some things you like to do over the summer? What movies do you like? The more you learn about that particular kid, because it's hard to be like, what's also dangerous is sometimes people that are in those groups, I want to teach a child that is different from me. So what do I do? So they Google how to teach Black kids.
Right.
And then you got somebody that Black kids need structure. All kids need structure. Right. But if you don't approach it as I heard that you Blacks like to watch the movies learn that child in particular. And then you'll see trends among the kids that, if the more Black kids I talk to, there's this trend that a lot of you guys are liking this. So then you might lead with that, but you don't want to lead with a stereotype or an assumption. I think that it's important to give yourself a chance to learn your kids individually, because I know it's easy to get caught up with because you have 20 kids or 17 to 25 kids, whatever the case.
Right.
But you're their one teacher or their two, that you're one of a few. You're their only math teacher, their only reading teacher for a whole year.
Yeah.
So while you might have 30, 50 kids, that's big for them. That I can tell you who my second grade teacher, my third grade teacher, my fourth grade, fifth grade. I remember my homeroom teachers. Now, if you're going to ask my third grade teacher, does she remember me 40 years later? Maybe she doesn't, but maybe she does, But while you have them for that time, invest in getting to know that kid.
Yeah.
And then it makes it easier, because if they know you, there's a quote where it says, kids don't care what you know until they know that you care.
Right, exactly. That's true.
Kids always know. They're the smartest ones. They can read the room. Kids know for sure who doesn't like them. It doesn't matter what you say. It isn't, I care for y'all, but every time you're with them, you're harsher with them than you are with the other kids. You're more punitive with them than you are with the other kids. And then you try to say, I love being a teacher. They're not going to receive that. So actually genuinely care for your kids and get to know them, get to know their style, get to know their learning style. And I think that that's going to open up so many doors, no matter what backgrounds you guys come from.
Nice. Well, man, appreciate you, man. Listen, if y'all don't know, go ahead and add my man on Facebook at Chris Francois. All right, go ahead, hit him up, man, and watch his journey now. I guess after teaching, since he's not teaching anymore, and yeah, just go ahead and follow him. Real good dude to follow. I want to say I want to give a shout out to my team, Mr. Kevin Russell and Miss Alicia Wallace for hooking up, man. I couldn't have done this without them. For real, this whole series, they were here the whole series and they held it down. Those, for Kevin, those are the flyers and the promotion that you see, the ads that you see. That's all him. And if you have been a guest and Alicia has hit you up, and if you have gotten a phone call about what's coming next, an email, whatever, that's been all her. So appreciate you guys. Shout out to the team. Shout out to every guest that's been on for this second season, for the women in business, to the black male educators, Pillars in Bloomington. I think it was Pillars in Bloomington the second one. I don't know. I got to go back and look. But it was a good run. It was a good run. I think it was a good run. But again, thank you all so much for coming on, because obviously you guys could have said no, right? And then I would have been scrambling to figure out who the heck can I have. But again, thank you again, and shout out to Chris again for coming on, and almost close to his bedtime.
Boy, we're not far.
And he still got to go back to work on Monday, so.
Tuesday.
Oh yeah, Memorial Day.
Yeah, somebody might be at work on Monday. Sorry to that man, but it ain't gonna be me.
So yeah, but appreciate everyone who's tuned in to Tell It. Stay tuned. There is a season 3 coming. All right, there is a season 3 coming, and so you don't want to miss that. Some new things are popping off. So and shout out to Anthony Francois. Is that Pops?
That's Pops. Hey. That's Pops. Shout out to Pops. Excellent father. Great. One of the greatest men I knew. I'm happy to be his son, but I'd be his friend if I wasn't.
There you go, man. I want my kids to say that about me once they get.
That's the goal, man. That's the goal, right?
That's the goal. But appreciate you, man. Everybody, you guys have a good night. Still try to catch some more playoff basketball. If you get a chance to, I'm going for the Nets. I think they're gonna take it all. So it's just easy to pick them.
It's hard to say a team gonna beat them 4 out of 7 times.
No, they're not. So, it's not gonna happen. I don't know. Yeah. Wait, hold on. He putting dollar signs. What's your dad? Your pops put dollar signs.
Yeah, I feel like I know what this means. So he's always said that that we're his retirement. That he's invested. In us and his boys. It's me and my 2 brothers, so that we're his retirement. And I think now that he's a grandfather, he's getting to see the return of that investment.
There you go.
And he just get to play with the grandkids. So I'm telling you, man, that guy is great. So when you got a dad like that, I was like, that's the job I want.
There you go.
And now you had to have money to have kids. All that stuff in between was just to catch up. But yeah, great father.
There you go. Thank you.
He paying for compliments. You know the Cash App. Don't play with it. Don't talk about it. Be about it, Pops. Put some money on this baby food.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, man. Hey, y'all, we out of here. Thank you for tuning for Tell It. I'll see y'all in season 3. Peace.